Hi friends, it's Claire from ScrappyNerdUK and I am up today for UKScrapAddicts and I'm kicking off this month's new theme, which is sewing, and it is one of those topics that either you love or you absolutely hate. So I wanted to show how you can do some minimal stitching but to maximum effect. So here I am scrapping a 9x12 layout and I'm just distressing the edges of my white cardstock, and you'll see the pattern paper behind that's going to give my white cardstock a border around the edge. So I'm going to come back to that bit because I don't want to stick it down just yet. So I have cut some strips of pattern paper from the paper pad that I just showed you. That's from it's a Hobbycraft paper pad, and it's got rainbows and unicorns and clouds, so I had to have it. So I'm just using some different punches to give myself some strips. So the idea for this was to help build up a bulk on my layout, so a bulk cluster of papers, of stamps and of stitching. So before I do that, I'm just adding on some black Heidi Swap Colour Shine and just making some bigger and some smaller splatters. And it's important I do this bit first before I start stitching, because I don't particularly want the ink splatters to soak into the stitching. So those are my pattern paper strips. I think I only go with 3 in the end. So I've just got a stamp here that's all stars, and I'm going to line it up with that bottom pattern paper. So I think the bottom one I'd done a torn edge, and that's another way that you can get different border strips. So if you don't have any border punches or not many border punches, then yeah, do torn edges will give you a different effect that you can use as well. So I've dusted off my Sew Easy tool. If you haven't seen one of these before, then it's this little handle, and you can buy a whole load of different attachments for it, and you just run it along your paper and it pierces the stitching holes for you. So I've got quite a few different heads, the attachment heads for it. So I pulled out 4 of them. I only go with 3 of them in the end. And here's where I start my stitching. So I've run that the little piercing attachment over in a straight line above the pattern paper that I've already stuck down. And you can see there it's created like a scalloped pattern. So I am doing a straightforward back stitch on this particular one, and I'm using threads in coordinating colours. So I've had a look at that rainbow paper that's going to go behind, and I've pulled some colours of thread that will match that. So to do the straightforward back stitch, all you want to do is you want to go up and then down, up into the next one, and then go back one to close the loop, and then come back up that one again. So I know that's quite quick. So if you need to watch the video over a couple of times, if you haven't done stitching before, then just pause and rewind and see what I just did there. So that's my scallop one. And then next I'm going to add on this one here that I've put through the border punch, and I've also put the rainbow paper behind those stars as well, which I thought was a nice little added extra. And then I'm going to come in with, I think I do another line of stitching first. So this is the straight stitch. This is just a normal one. And I run that straight over, and then I realise actually it's quite far away from that pattern paper. So you'll see that I bring some stamps to fill that space in shortly. So this one here, I do a chain stitch. So chain stitch is done by creating loops and then tying those loops off by coming through the next hole. And you'll see what I mean in just a second when I start. So I'm just changing the colour thread here, and I'm going with all 6 strands. So you can make life easier on yourself and just use 2 strands. Embroidery floss normally comes in 6 strands in total, but trying to thread them through a needle can be problematic. So this is what happens. You go up and down through the same hole, and then you come up through the next one, and then you go down through the same hole and up through the next one, down through that same hole, hold that loop, and up through the next one. So this will give you a completely different effect to what backstitch gives you. And yeah, so it's much more heightened. It's very textured, and I quite like the look of different stitches when I'm doing a stitch layout. So this is where I'm coming in just with a couple of stars, and I'm going to stamp it all the way along there just to fill that that white gap. And then my next border strip here, as I said, these are all from the same pattern paper, so I know that they'll all coordinate, and it's nice to have different patterns. So I've got a polka dot, and that little one there I'm using there has got little flowers on. But all the colours will coordinate because they match the rainbow paper that's going to be behind my white cardstock. And then I come in with this amazing one. I love this one, and it gives you this loop effect. So the reason I didn't stick my white cardstock down onto my backing pattern paper is because if I'm trying to pierce the holes, I'm going to have to force the piercer to go through 2 layers. So I've not stuck my paper down just yet for that very reason. There is a tip for you. Make sure that if you are piercing your own holes, you can use you could use something printed from the internet. If you don't have one of these, you could do something freehand. Then you don't need to you need something underneath, so you can use a piercing mat. You can use a couple of layers of foam doubled up. People have even used corrugated card, so something you can actually push a hole through the paper into a softer surface underneath. So there's a few different things you can use to do that. So I've gutted that rainbow paper, and because I'm going to use that to map my photo on. So now I've done my stitching, I'm just going to add my add it onto that rainbow background paper, and there we are. So next I'm going to come in with my photo. It's just a Snapchat selfie of me. I love Snapchat's filters. I never put anything on Snapchat. I just love the filters that you get on it. I just think it brightens up photos when there's not really any story to tell, and it's just a cool photo. Then yeah, Snapchat's great for that. So I'm just backing my photo with the remainder of that rainbow paper. And I was going to add in another layer of it, but it didn't need it. So I'm going to put a doily behind instead, because why not? I've added a layer of some just some cheapy fun foam, and pop my photo at a little bit of an angle just above all of the strips there. So I'm coming back in with the little stars, and I'm going to move those stars up and around the photo. That's just to continue the theme of the stars from the bottom up to the top as well. And there we are. I love anything that's just teeny tiny. Really helps to add to a page and fill in some of those blank spaces sometimes. So my title is Very Cool. As in very cool. As in very cool. I know it's not a great play on words, but I didn't really have anything else to say, but it needed a title. So I've used in these thickers. These are Dear Lizzie ones from they're years old. So it's great to be able to get some stash used up. And I really wanted to make the title pop on this, because everything, although we've got the stitching on there, everything else was quite flat. So I thought I would just add some little foam dots, excuse me, some foam dots behind my title. And then I laid it a little bit higgledy-piggledy across there, across this, it was across one of the border strips and the stitching. And I love how that finished. I've never put any thickers up on foam before, so that's a new one by me, and I like how that looks. So next up, I'm just coming in with some final flourishes. So adding in some enamel dots in coordinating colours, and there are some little hearts as well. These are just from my stash. And it's great just to pull things out. Now, I am a terrible scrapbooker when it comes to only sticking to one collection at a time. So I like to scrapbook with the same collection. But this, I just had bits and bobs that I just threw together. And I love the way that it turned out. Now, I had these stars floating around on my desk from another project that I'd been working on. And I thought they worked perfectly. So I love little happy accidents. These are 3D stars, and if you wanted a tutorial on how to make these, then leave me a comment down below, whether you're watching on my channel ScrappyNerdUK or UKScrapAddicts. Leave a comment, and I shall arrange for a video over on my channel. Now, if you are watching on my ScrappyNerdUK channel, then I do encourage you to go over to the UK Scrap Addicts Facebook page, and also the YouTube channel as well. We have a team of YouTubers every month that we scrap to the theme that we have. So this month it will be sewing. So there's loads of inspiration. So I will leave that all linked up down in the comments down below for you. And so all I'm doing here is just to ensure that these stars stay a little bit 3D. I'm just adding a couple of foam dots to the middle, and then I'm adding some wet glue to the outsides to stick those down. And my layout is done. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again soon. Bye.